with love and just be okay with that.
I love that.
So before you ask your next question, this goes into my second part, right? Because you touching on it a lot. I think you like sitting right here by me, but you looking at my notebook. You looking at my notebook. But what I wanted to ask is just taking it back to intention because it's all tied together. Is so you set your intention in relationship, right? You show up, you're intentional. That allows you to be accountable and your partner or the person that you're in relationship to be accountable. But how do boundaries fit into the equation when you're setting intention in relationship? When you talk, because you just talked about, boundary isn't to judge you. It's not. But one thing that I find, especially we talked about this in the last episode, is, I'll meet people and I know where I am right now. It's easy for me to trauma bond with people, so like just because of where I am on my journey, that's something that I'm working on, and I don't want to take that into my next relationship. So knowing that when that shows up in my life or has shown up in my life, um I kind of shrink a little bit and like be like, ooh, like I know, this is where I am. I'm not gonna say like this is a hard boundary, like, oh my God, because you're dealing with something like I don't want to be with you. But I do have a boundary for myself, right? And that's kind of the rule of engagement, to like not get into certain situations with people where I have that possibility to early on trauma bond and rush intimacy. So in your opinion, yeah, how do boundaries kind of fit into those relationships where you're setting intention and you're not trying to not give love?
Well, I'm gonna only speak from my perspective, of course, but I spent quite some time as a therapist and facilitating group counseling and grief counseling. And I noticed that a word that would come up a lot during those times would be boundaries. So when I hear the word boundary, it automatically makes me think of victimization or victimhood. So I would offer a word exchange for boundaries, and the word exchange would be choices.
Got it.
So here's the thing, if I'm establishing that I'm in control and I'm the creator of my life, that means that anything that unfolds in front of me is a choice. And so boundary creates a separation, kind of like we were talking about before, because it's saying, I'm not going to allow XYZ. And that can be coming from a place that maybe has a lower vibration than the freedom of the word choice.
Choice.
As soon as you tell someone that they have choices, they feel empowered. They feel free. They feel like,
That's dope.
oh, I can choose. So when it comes to intention setting, I only sit it next to, well, these are my choices, not boundaries necessarily, because it has an exclusion to it, but just choices. And then I can measure, will this choice align with my intention? Or will that choice align with my intention? And then I don't ever have to put anyone else in control of how I feel. I get to own it all the time because of
Accountable.
the power of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it doesn't align, then it's fine. But I always have that power seat of choosing. I feel empowered when I know that it's a choice because boundaries make me feel defensive.
Yeah.
And from a person that did group therapy and a person that did therapy with women, they were typically in a position where they needed to defend themselves. And that was where the conversation about boundaries would come from. It's a place of defense. But as we evolve, we know that we don't have to defend ourselves against anybody. We can live in our authentic selves and we can choose. And that keeps us at the forefront of nothing is happening to me, everything is happening for me. And I have the power of choice.
That's dope.
I
That's
love
dope. That's
that.
dope. That's dope. That is dope. I'm glad that
Yes,
I
I love
waited to
that.
ask you that question. Yes, that's dope.
Oh,
That's dope. That's dope. Because I'm choosing to not trauma bond with people.
There you go.
I
There
am
you go.
choosing to not rush. Hey, look, don't rush intimacy up on me. Because, hey, pattern recognition, that I'm scared. Hey, look here. Don't do it.
So
oh, you're gonna love the outcome. Yes. What about?
what about when you set an intention when you're going into a relationship, and I'm talking about intimate relationships, and the relationship starts to deviate from that intention. Like, for instance, okay, I met this guy and I want to have, a fuck buddy. And so my intention with him is just to have fun, just to let loose, just to kind of escape and release or whatever, sexual tension.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my intention. But then the relationship starts to deviate from that intention. Like, is it okay to kind of go with the flow, or should I automatically cut it off because when I started this relationship and when I entered this relationship, it doesn't align with the intention that I set?
I think it goes
Oh,
back
that's
to
the
choice.
funny thing. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. You get
What
to
happened?
choose.
You said
You get to choose. It's in pencil, not in pen. It's not in permanent
Yeah.
marker. You get to choose. So if you are finding yourself that was my intention when this began, and it's unfolded into something deeper, you get to choose a different intention. You're not locked into it, and you're not betraying yourself if you do. The only way you can betray yourself is if you allow things that you know don't align with where you see yourself going.
Yeah,
That's the
and I
only way you
think
can betray
too.
yourself.
Yeah, and I think too, like it ain't gotta be drastic. You know what I'm saying? Like when you set your intention and, say something like in that situation, right? The person can't do or can't deliver what you wanted out of that, right? Like if you choose something different, that don't necessarily mean like, oh my God, I just gotta cut this person off for forever. It just to me, intention is just like I don't know, it's kind of like rules of engagement, kind of, sort of, but not really. But like, it just allows you to be accountable to yourself, to your authentic self. What you feeling? Did you, am I cool with, this morphing into a relationship? Okay. Am I choosing a relationship with this person? No. Okay. It's a constant, to me, like you said, choice and knowing what resonates with you from your belly. To me, like that's where my intuition is. But yeah,
I
you got
actually agree with you. I really, really do agree with you. And the only thing that I would add to that is the reason that we do so much work on ourselves is so that we can know ourselves. Because if I'm changing my intention, I need to make sure it's not coming from a lower vibrational place,
right.
like loneliness. I don't want to be alone. I'm desperate. I feel if there's any lower vibrational energy behind it, I have to always be honest with myself enough to ask the question, why did I change the intention? Because
Damn,
when
Miss
you met
Robin.
someone, you may not know
Preach.
everything. Yeah,
Preach.
you may not know, but you don't ever want it to come from one of those fears or a fear-based emotion, and that's why you're changing your intention.
Damn,
But if it's in
preach, Miss
fact that,
Robin.
this is better than I thought, and I can now evolve my intention versus I just changed it because I don't want to be by myself and I got to start all over. And it's what we tell ourselves. So but if you're not honest with yourself, you will never get to that place. You will never, because it's very difficult for a woman to say, well, maybe I am afraid that I won't meet somebody else and this is as good as it gets. Maybe those are the things that we don't naturally just say, but we'll make choices and actions that say it without it ever coming out of our mouths. So
Miss Robin,
that's some of those
look here. You calling me out. I'm about to hang up this call. You I feel like I'm on the front row at church. You calling me out. For real.
So,
yes.
Robin, I don't know if you distinctly remember, and I got this from Conversations with God in the book when he was saying that when you enter into a relationship, the first thing you should ask yourself is, what do I want here?
Yeah.
What do I want from this relationship? Is that the same as setting an intention? Is that the equivalent?
Yes. Okay. What's my desired outcome? What do I want? And that's why, honestly, people who haven't even attempted to do work on themselves, they have no business actively seeking a relationship. Now, if they're already in one, they can do it while they're in one. But if they haven't actually done the work, that's moving backwards, because all you're going to do is project your shit on somebody else.
They'd be the main ones in relationships, though.
Man, and the main ones looking. And the main ones looking. You like, you need to go sit your ass in that damn corner. Like, I told you 20 times. I done told y'all, like, y'all, look, go sit in the corner and figure it out. And
so I want to ask you guys a question now, because you said that. I want to ask a question. Does it seem, if you're looking for an intimate relationship, that as you evolve spiritually, it's more difficult to find a man that has also done some work on himself and kind of.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is?
I think society allows them to walk around, you know, not trying to defeat Thanos like women. I think that they're not checked into that, to their higher self. I think that literally when you look at the Maslow's, hierarchy, um, our society has just conditioned men to like live at those lower three. Like it's you don't want to be perceived as soft, or you want to be spiritual so you can like say I just want to vibe out with somebody. But really what that means is you want to smoke these blunts, get high, and like whatever comes is whatever comes. It's not like you coming for somebody's soul, because you're not in touch with your soul, because they don't, it's not taught, like Christianity is there, and there is a basis for it. But if you're not listening, if you're not actively listening, which is something that we do not teach anywhere, you're not like, man, you're not gonna get it. And yeah, I mean, if a man isn't raised by a spiritual woman, they out here. And two, it's a lot of women that, to me, like, they're on the journey, but like you said, they get lonely. Because I swear to God, you tugging on me for real, because I said my intention to like literally live in this monotony, and I was like, man, I'm tired of being by myself. I want to be with somebody, because I'm afraid. I'm 40. Oh my God, I'm gonna be by myself. I'm gonna get back on these dating sites. And literally, like, as soon as I got on it, I felt bad. I was just like, dang, like, that's not something that you were supposed to do. So I feel that it's just a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of men and it's a lot of women out here that they just get into that certain level. And that certain level, to me, is where the requirement is for you to go inward and look at yourself and look at what those mirrors and look at what you call into yourself. And at that point, people get scared because the fire is hot. That's just my point, my opinion.
I appreciate your perspective, but I disagree. I think that it's the same. Like the men that I was running into, post my spiritual journey and, post like me working on myself, is kind of the same, if not very similar to the men that I was running into before. And I think that it goes back to like what we were talking about in the beginning, that it all starts with you. And I believe that if I have a desire, and when I'm ready to actually, make that commitment and take it there with somebody, like the universe is just going to bring me exactly who I desire. And it's going to, just kind of grow from there and evolve from there. But I think it's the same. It's not harder and it's not easier.
But the question was, is who you running into? Are they?
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same before and after.
Into anybody, because I haven't been actively calling that to myself, but just I
was going to say that, Jabri, you just touched on exactly what I was going to say, because if we adopt anybody else's viewpoint instead of knowing that as a creator we can have whatever we create for ourselves, we're going to have whatever we adopted. I do strongly believe in that. And sometimes I do hear people who desire a relationship speak on what they believe to be a collective experience, and they are including themselves in it. And that's exactly what's showing up in their life. So it's kind of one of those things, like if we really, truly believe I am able to create the relationship that I want, we have to be ever so careful of the words we speak concerning what's out there, because that is exactly what we will draw. Versus, hey, this could be the day where he shows up, because I've already set an intention and then I'm looking for it and then I'm going to attract it. But I could not attract it based on what I believe is available, what I believe. Because I'm going to tell you this, you don't need all the men to be awakened and conscious. You need yours too.
Exactly. That's it. And that's all. And if you have that desire, he's already there. Like you cannot have that desire and he not, be out there with the same desire. And you know what I mean? Like just the concept and the idea and the desire itself makes it already in existence. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So, and then too, like I think that when we